Today we're demonstrating how to go from rappelling to ascending on two ropes. Hello everyone, I'm Jason. Last year, my kids each did a day out on 1,500 vertical feet of climbing, or about 12 pitches. In both situations, I took them one at a time and with a friend, so each time we had two adults and one kid. Well, this year we are getting ready for multi-pitch climbs over easy terrain with one adult, me, and both kids. So I've been trying to ground them in some of the fundamentals of self-sufficiency in vertical environments. One of the major rules of thumb is to never be stuck when relying on the rope for progress. For example, you may have seen a video series we did a while ago about rescuing a child in a single pitch top rope situation. One video of that series was about transitioning from ascending a rope to descending down with the kid in tow. You can check it out by following the link in the description. The inverse situation is also important, being able to switch from rappelling to ascending. Just a few situations that might call for switching from descending to ascending are if your ropes get stuck after rappelling, if you rappel too far, or if you rappel directionally off route. Today we are demonstrating how to move from rappel to rope ascension when you can't find a stance to unweight your rope. And because we are climbing as 3 people, this will be from a rappel on 2 strands. We'll also assume that we aren't using a beaner block or knot block at the anchor. Both strands need to be weighted at all times. So we aren't using a single rope brake assisting device like a gree-gree, but rather an alpine-style plaquette device. We'll focus our time on the procedure using materials we best like to use, but I will also touch on some options for when we don't have our first choices of equipment. Here we are dangling near the end of our rappel line, but not the very end. We have an extended rappel device and an autoblock attached to our belay loop, which is fairly textbook these days. The first thing we need to do is back ourselves up so that our lives aren't reliant on just the autoblock. Taking an HMS large enough to accept 2 knots, we can tie a clove hitch in both strands, attaching it all to our belay loop. We do want to leave an amount of slack that is more than the distance from our belay loop to our rappel device. I have a couple of feet. We'll need that slack to eventually lower my autoblock and rappel device down to my belay loop. Now secure, we can attach a foot loop. Here I'm using a Sterling hollow block, which is Technora and without a core, specifically designed for friction hitches. I like to tie a clem heist, which is more easily done in comparison to a true Prussik knot. Now we can add a carabiner and attach the sling to it. If we have enough slack in that sling, a girth hitch around the foot will keep it in place. I like the sling to carabiner attachment rather than simply attaching a cordelette directly to the rope because I actually want that carabiner. I'm going to use it to generate some mechanical advantage to help me ascend, as you'll see. What if we don't have another short or even long cord like described above? Maybe we only have a sling. Well, we can attach slings directly to the rope, but they slip more, except for Dyneema. Dyneema is extra slippery and has a low melting point, meaning the friction could actually melt the material. We should really try to avoid using a Dyneema sling for friction hitches, but if we absolutely had to, we would then want to tie an FB hitch. We tie an overhand near the bar tack so that we have a small loop. Now we wrap the sling up the rope and then pull the tail down through the loop we had made. Basically, we've tied a hen hitch, and you can watch a video we did about that hitch, but with an extra loop that eases our ability to unlock the hitch and slide it up after each time we weight it. Okay, now we need to unweight our rappel device and autoblock. We do that by standing into our foot loop. We're still going to need to get some work done, so I find that tucking my foot under my butt gives me a makeshift seat, still unweights the device, and keeps me fairly upright. Now we need to slide down our autoblock and then our rappel device as well. We can now use a locking carabiner to attach our rappel device to our belay loop through the rope blocking mount on the device. Once that's done, we can sit down into our device and let the rope blocking mechanism engage. Now it's time to remove our autoblock. Also, we've just freed up that material from the Autoblock, so theoretically, if I had to use a Dyneema sling for the foot loop, we could have the option to ascend just enough to be able to reach above the foot loop and then tie a new friction hitch with better material. As soon as we can reach the foot loop attachment, we can then also take the slack from above our clove hitch and clip it through the foot loop's carabiner. Now as we ascend, we stand in our foot loop to unweight the rappel device, pull down on those ropes coming through the foot loop carabiner, and then sit back and weight the device and thus unweight the foot loop. Slide the foot loop up and repeat. As we ascend, we periodically want to adjust our clove hitch and take the slack out, limiting our fall length should our ascending system fail for any reason. Okay, one last tangential scenario. What if we are rappelling off of our belay loop rather than an extension? Well, first I would say that maybe I shouldn't be doing that. You can watch a short we did on some of the advantages of using an extended rappel. Well, this is another advantage. But we can still get our belay device into rope breaking mode when it's on our belay loop. It's just a lot harder. With a device on our belay loop, after standing and unweighting our device, we can first put a locker through the rope breaking attachment. In this situation, it helps a lot if we use a really big carabiner like this William from Petzl, because if this carabiner is longer than the one we have attaching our device to us originally, it's much easier. Now we need to rotate that original locker and unclip it from just the belay loop while not unclipping it from the rope or device capture loop. Now we can sit into the device and let the rope block. The rest of the procedure now becomes the same. So there you have it, moving from rappel to ascending on 2 ropes, a foundational skill for bigger routes. All the same fundamentals apply if you are using any rappel system that weights only 1 rope, like doubles with a block at the anchor or a single rope with a tagline. It certainly is easier to use gree-grees, tib-locks, and the like. Just make sure you are attaching these to the rappel line, not the pull line. Have you ever had to ascend a rope not in a practice situation? Maybe tell us the story in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. You can follow the thumbnail to see that video I mentioned about single-pitch kid rescue, or maybe you want to check out our entire rock climbing safety series. We'll see you next week, and keep on getting more out of that big outside.